And now, let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akugha as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome to the program. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular host, Mamode Akugha. On our lineup for today's package, we begin with a report on the appropriation of the 13% oil derivation fund for oil-producing states in the Niger Delta. How well have allocations from the Federation account been utilized to benefit the oil-producing communities in the Niger Delta? Our current development efforts in the oil-producing states commensurate with what they get as federal allocation? These and other questions will be answered in the course of the program. Next on our lineup is a report on Nigeria's performance in developing alternative energy sources to address energy insufficiency arising from a near-total dependence on fossil fuels. And moving on, we'll bring you an update report on what the Niger Delta Ministry is doing to attract foreign investments into Nigeria's beleaguered oil region. It appears the federal government's investment drive in the Niger Delta is beginning to attract more investors to the region. One of such investors is Belema Pipeline Limited, a subsidiary of indigenous oil giant Belema Oil Producing Limited, which recently relocated several families residing at Robertkiri in Akugha local government area of River State, host to OML 55, which it has designated as operational base of the Belema Oil Terminal in Kula Kingdom. And finally, in today's package is a report on the activities of a non-governmental organization, the Elizabeth Jackridge Aid Foundation, which recently sponsored the training of over 1,000 women in several vocations and crafts. For more details, we urge you to stay tuned to the program as Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region, will be back in just a moment. Don't go away.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, recently reported that Nigeria's oil-producing states received 394.9 billion naira as 13% oil derivation allocation made between January to September 2019. In spite of the huge funds allocated to the states, there seemed to be no corresponding improvement in available infrastructure and quality of life in Nigeria's oil-rich region. In this report, correspondent Chika Bodozie takes a look at what is generally considered the best approach to deal with the challenges of underdevelopment in the Niger Delta.
The report released by the National Bureau of Statistics indicates that between January and September 2019, Delta State received 123 billion naira, while Akwa Ibom got 90 billion naira as 13% derivation funds occurring from the Federation account. Others are Bayelsa 74.6 billion naira, Rivers 71.7 billion naira, Edo 13.6 billion naira, Ondo 10.1 billion naira, Imo 6.6 billion naira, Abia 5.1 billion naira, and Lagos 1.9 billion naira. In spite of the huge allocations made to the oil-producing states, they are largely underdeveloped, faced with serious challenges in infrastructure and human capital development. Consequently, most Niger Deltans are beginning to ask questions about how the funds are being spent.
For the fact that the federal government has been able to release a whopping 394 point something billion to the region in a space of about 10 months, ought to naturally translate to meaningful development. Now, if it is not development as seen in terms of infrastructure, it should be seen in terms of human capacity development.
Has that 13% actually touched the ground? No. Go to the communities yourself. You see the underdevelopment, you see the poverty, you see the broken down infrastructure. It is not all those infrastructure that the federal government is responsible for. A lot of these things, like the health centers, like the schools, and so on, water, sanitation and hygiene facilities, are things that local and state levels of government are supposed to do.
13% of total earnings from crude oil sales is reserved for the development of Nigeria's oil belt, which is designated as a special area in need of attention. To accelerate the pace of development in the backward Niger Delta region, the federal government currently funds the Niger Delta Development Commission, the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, and the Presidential Amnesty Program. Through these channels, substantial funds have been made available to the oil-producing states to tackle the challenges of poverty, insecurity, and underdevelopment. To the dismay of most Niger Deltans, however, ongoing development efforts in the region do not seem to justify the huge funds released by the federal government over the years.
The quantum of resources coming into the region could have been better used to address its developmental challenges. Unfortunately, what we've seen is that the governments at the local and the state level, subnational governments, are not doing as much as they should do. Is the federal government doing enough? No. But are the states and local governments doing enough? Also, no. Not nearly close to what they should be doing.
The funds don't get into the people. They are mismanaged by our politicians.
Other Niger Deltans responding to the region's crisis of underdevelopment have called for the scrapping of all existing federal government intervention agencies that have failed to deliver on their mandate on account of bureaucratic bottlenecks and political interference. They also want the federal government to reconsider its oil derivation policy and enthrone fiscal federalism as it is obtainable in other federations.
Anytime they bring up the issue of true federalism in Nigeria, nobody wants to listen to it because they run the Niger Delta states to fund other states using another man's wealth to enrich someone else. It's not enough at all. So the government, in fact, as a matter of urgency, should even increase it times 10.
If the people were given the opportunity to control their wealth and pay to the center, that would have been easier. But in this scenario, that is not even obtainable. And that is why you see the high level of youth restiveness. That is why you see the high level of bunkering activities all over the Niger Delta. Because the youth were not engaged. They're not meaningfully engaged in the system.
In recent years, the National Bureau of Statistics has identified Delta, Akwa Ibom, and River States which received the lion's share of federal allocations with the highest unemployment rates in the country. In June this year, the Economic Confidential also ranked them among the first 5 highly indebted states in the local debt stock. This is a situation that continues to give the people cause for worry, and it is a wake-up call on the oil-rich states to rethink their fiscal policies, which may leave them perpetually stranded in a post-oil economy.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Worried by the negative impact of insufficient energy output on the Nigerian economy, the civil society community in the Niger Delta has reiterated calls on the federal government to transit from fossil fuels to renewable energy source. It is optimistic that such a transition will diversify available energy source in the country and restore the ecosystem that has come under the strain of massive pollution from crude oil drilling activities in the Niger Delta. Correspondent Tekena Mufuri has more.
In a global community where other countries have made significant progress with the transition from hydrocarbons to renewable energy sources, Nigeria's seeming reluctance to embrace what they consider clean technology gives civil society groups cause for concern in the Niger Delta. At a recent meeting convened in Port Harcourt, Executive Director of the Environmental Rights Action and Friends of the Earth Nigeria, Dr. Godwin Uyi Ojo, underscored the urgent need for the country to discard fossil fuels, which will have little or no economic value in the next few years.
Although there are still hundreds of millions of barrels of crude oil and tens of trillion standard cubic feet of gas deposit around the world, yet the world has seen the proverbial handwriting on the wall and is moving on to avoid climatic catastrophe as the earth moves towards its tipping point. Nigeria must not be left behind or become a dumping ground for household petrol, diesel engine cars from industrialized countries.
For the coalition of civil society groups in the Niger Delta, The region, whose ecosystem and economy have been devastated by crude oil and gas production over the years, stands to gain immensely from a post-oil economy.
So for Niger Delta and areas producing oil, they stand a lot to gain by giving a rest to the environment so that the ecosystem can enjoy restoration. Right now, the environment is stressed. We strongly believe that if the environment is cleaned up, as in the case of Ogoni, and there is remediation, then the level of poverty in the Niger Delta will reduce.
If you look at the communities, there are a lot of crises as a result of fossil fuel utilization. And if there is anything that will bring about situation that will not lead to those kind of crises, Nigerians will be more than willing. And I know that is why there is need for a lot of sensitization on the use of renewable energy.
Protagonists of renewable energy sources want the federal government to establish an alternative energy commission to expedite the process of Nigeria's transition from fossil fuels to more environmentally friendly and affordable energy sources.
Our government needs to be more proactive in terms of alternative energy. I therefore suggest immediate establishment of alternative energy commission that will drive the process of dealing with alternative energy.
The campaign to phase out fossil fuels in Nigeria is in line with Goal 7 of the SDGs, which seeks to achieve sustainable energy for all by the year 2030.
Inside the Niger Delta.
The Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs says it remains committed to the sustainable development of the Niger Delta region. Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, made the pledge at a recent meeting with development partners and donor agencies in the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja. The Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, which is responsible for the coordination and supervision of development initiatives in the Niger Delta, recently adopted a new action plan geared towards improving service delivery and sustainable development in the region. Under the leadership of Senator Godswill Akpabio, the ministry is embarking on high-level political engagement with communities in the Niger Delta to accelerate the ongoing peace process and reduce tension in the region. For Senator Akpabio, the new action plan, if properly implemented, will promote peace and security and improve quality of life in the Niger Delta. He, however, believes that it will take meaningful partnerships with credible development agencies to achieve desired results in the Niger Delta.
So we need your cooperation. We need your technical advice. We need to open up the region. We have areas where bridges have since collapsed, and then the people cannot have proper drinking water. I don't want to say it. Some people take their bath in the stream and also drink from that same water and do a lot of other things there. At the moment, with high prep, we are looking at the environmental cleanup of Ogoni land, but then this ministry is also engaged in land remediation in other areas outside Ogoni land. It's important to also guide us in terms of technical partnership for us to achieve the desired result.
At the recent meeting with development partners and donor agencies, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs observed that not much has been done to justify the huge budgetary allocations meant to transform the region. He said the new action plan of the Niger Delta Ministry was aimed at proffering lasting solutions to the many challenges confronting the region, particularly in the areas of unemployment, poverty, and environmental degradation.
We have to develop and manage high-impact programs for empowerment and mass employment of youth in the region. I talked about the post-amnesty era of the Niger Delta. I don't want us to have adult delinquency in future. When people who are on amnesty now are now 60 years and 70. I want us to plan now for a time they can come out, and not if they are not gainfully employed, then they should have a requisite skill and be assisted to become entrepreneurs and have businesses of their own. It's not going to be achieved in a day, but if we can start now, I believe that a stitch in time saves nine.
Today's meeting, I dare say, is historic, being one of many steps taken by the new leadership of the ministry aimed at fast-tracking the development of the region and alleviating the plight of the people.
Some of the international donor agencies, which frowned at the state of underdevelopment in the Niger Delta, promised to contribute to the region's transformation.
We've got extensive partnerships currently in the northeast, in the Delta, which include the project Foster, MAID, and obviously our partner SDN as well, across all the areas that you highlight around conflict, climate, and livelihoods. In particular, in the last few years, we've lifted up the incomes of over 250,000 people in the Niger Delta through market development activities. I think it's really important. What we found with that is that there's a lot of corporate social responsibility which goes into the Niger Delta through the oil companies, but I think many of them can learn from some of the development practices that we've developed in terms of how to do market building activities and not just simple training, etc. So we'd love to be able to share more of our expertise and knowledge about how that's worked.
The Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs is optimistic that through collaborations with international development partners and donor agencies, it will access more funds and technical support to drive its action plan in the Niger Delta.
Inside the Niger Delta.
After getting an approval from the federal government in May this year to establish the Belema Oil Terminal at Akugha, Belema Pipeline Limited, a subsidiary of indigenous oil giant Belema Oil Producing Limited, has concluded arrangements to commence operations on the oil facility by the first quarter of 2020. To this end, it has successfully relocated residents of Ayekuro community at Robertkiri in its operational base of oil mining lease OML 55. Correspondent Tekena Amifuri has details of the relocation plan.
Over 85 property owners at Robertkiri, the operational base of Belema Oil Producing Limited, recently relocated from the area to pave way for the construction of the Belema Industrial Island. The mega project has provision for the construction of a tank farm, gas plant, industrial estate, pipe coating plant, and helipad, as well as other facilities that will feed the Belema Oil Terminal at Akugha. Although the vast parcel of land at Robertkiri was part of assets Belema Oil acquired from Chevron in a 2016 transaction to operate OML 55, the indigenous oil giant decided to compensate residents in the relocation plan through its subsidiary, Belema Pipeline Limited.
I'm thanking Belema Pipeline for its greater support he has given to Robertkiri to carry us out of this place. He has paid us better money, and the money he gave to us can enable us to meet up our demand.
Belema Oil is the man that God sent from Kola to help us, to help every stranger in this river.
The relocated residents of Robertkiri admit that development comes at a cost, even as they look forward to benefiting from the over 10,000 jobs to be created when the Belema Oil Terminal becomes fully operational.
We are not forced to move away from this place because we take time to come and take enumeration of the people one after the other, seek their consent, they are accepted, and we have to give them the money, cash, fabulous amount.
We believe that if this place becomes an industrial city, an industrial and oil industry city, it's going to provide a lot of benefits that will accrue to the people of Kola in general, to the people that are resident in this place and every other person within the state and without the state.
As they are starting the constructions, the building and the projects, it is the youth that will be the first port of call. We are going to be employed, we are going to be empowered, we are going to be engaged.
According to Director of Belema Pipeline, Engineer Mufa Welsh, the compensation of relocated residents is a true reflection of Belema Oil's unique brand of corporate social responsibility and community relations.
We have come today still in the appreciation mood to tell them that we are grateful for the peaceful exodus from this place. And the founder and the president of Belema Oil has also sent something to them for a sign of appreciation that he loves them, he cares for them, and he's going to do so many things for them. Now, these opportunities that are coming are going to be beneficiary to the community people, especially the youth.
The Indigenous Exploration and Production Company says it is determined to continue to positively affect the lives of its host communities as well as other parts of the country that are equally in need of development. It also expresses its profound gratitude to the government of President Muhammadu Buhari for approving the establishment of the Belema Oil Terminal at Akugha, which it considers a major investment that would improve the lots of Niger Deltans when it becomes fully operational in no distant time.
No fewer than 1,100 women had benefited from a skills acquisition program bankrolled by a non-governmental organization, the Elizabeth Jackridge Aid Foundation. Correspondent Chika Abodozie, who covered the closing ceremony of the 2-week intensive training program, reported that it was undertaken to uplift Nigerian women from poverty and insecurity.
As demographic studies carried out in recent times by local and international development agencies suggest, women constitute a greater percentage of people living below the poverty line in Nigeria. The plight of Nigerian women is occasioned by gender imbalance in the distribution of paid employment, a situation that increasingly leaves them vulnerable to poverty and insecurity. Rising to the occasion, the Elizabeth Jackridge Aid Foundation recently empowered 1,100 Nigerian women with a skills acquisition training in diverse vocations and crafts. While 500 women who benefited from the training program were drawn from the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja, a total of 600 beneficiaries were trained in Rivers State and other parts of the Niger Delta.
My focus on women does not stem from a gender bias, but rather from a belief that women's empowerment intertwined with women's rights. Also, I believe our society is desperately in need of action, not just empty theory. Therefore, when you empower a woman, you empower a nation.
The founder, president of Elizabeth Jackridge, who is the initiator of this program, clearly stated that her dream of initiating this program is to ensure that no woman is left hungry on the streets. And when she approached the NNPC Belema Oil joint venture that this is the dream she has, it resonated. It was more like also the same dream of the joint venture, and so we didn't find it difficult in collaborating with her, and this is why today has become a success.
Under the Elizabeth Jackridge Aid Foundation sponsored program, beneficiaries were trained in information communication technology, catering, leatherworks, hairdressing, and several other vocations. The idea was to equip beneficiaries with lifelong skills to make them economically self-reliant.
God will bless her as she invites us to come in here through hairdressing. Now she come and give me 2 billion naira for me, where I never expect anybody to give me. God will bless her for me.
I learned fashion design. I want to go and learn and sew bedsheet, duvet, decoration, because I love that business too much.
Having been empowered to cater for themselves and their families, the expectation is that beneficiaries of the Skills Acquisition Program, courtesy of the Elizabeth Jackridge Aid Foundation, would extend their knowledge to other Nigerian women in need of economic empowerment.
This 2 weeks program has given you the tools to understand and know what you want to achieve. It has given you the tools that show you how to do what you have to do to be successful. If you live today and do nothing else, we have not achieved anything. Show your capacities and apply those knowledges that you acquired here and be able to create value to the society, then you have been successful.
Checks were issued to beneficiaries of the just concluded Skills Acquisition Program as startups for their businesses.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Well, that's the much we can take on the program. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region will be back same time next week on this station. Until then, you can follow us on our social media handles showing right now on your screen. Many thanks for staying tuned. My name is Mamode Akugha, signing off on the program. Bye for now.